Hi, my name is Harris. I'm one of your podcast hosts. I'm also a lawyer at Treadstone Law. For most Canadians, buying, selling, or refinancing real estate, a lawyer is the last thing on their mind. That's unfortunate because lawyers play a vital role in the process. But what choices do Canadians have? Lawyers can be very expensive. Well, Treadstone Law offers resources to Canadians so they have access to the information they need. Whether you sign up for a live workshop or a mailing list, we cover topics to help you make informed decisions and avoid costly mistakes. It's advice you can start using today, and best of all, it's free. Visit treadstonelaw.ca/MAS offer or click the link below to get access right now. If you're looking to retain Treadstone Law, it's never been easier. Our entire process is online. From completing the retainer agreement to your signing appointment, everything is done from the comfort of your own home. We're your digital lawyers. The best part of it is that you don't pay anything when you're retaining our firm. Visit treadstonelaw.ca/MAS offer or click on the link below to retain us right now. Enjoy the podcast. Welcome to another episode of Hustle and Grit. Today on our podcast, we have Matthew Hines. Matthew is a mortgage agent, debt elimination specialist, equity management expert, and certified reverse mortgage specialist. He believes real estate is the foundation of wealth for most Canadians. He helps Canadians obtain, protect, and leverage their real estate appropriately to ensure their debt repayment, investment, and retirement goals are achieved. Welcome to the podcast, Matthew.
Thank you.
You know, I went through, and I'm starting off with this because usually in my podcast we wait towards the end and we're going to talk about it. But I went through your reverse, so we're going to be talking about reverse mortgages. I went through your guide, and for all those listeners, I'm going to be providing a link for the guide in this podcast. Depending on where you're listening, it'd be either bottom or the side, and it's one of, I would say, a work of, I think, diligence, which is why I like to start off all my podcasts on a good note. And that was something that when I was going through it, and it was 25 pages, it was to the point. It was something that I felt was very helpful, even though being a real estate lawyer, I'm in the industry, it was still very helpful for me. I can only imagine what it's like for individuals who are not even in the industry looking into it. How long did it take you to get that PDF together, that guide?
It took me a little bit of time to get it done, but wasn't too painful. I mean, most of the knowledge is up here, and it's just translating from here to paper in a way that is easy to read for everyday folks, and try and get myself out of my mortgage broker brain and become an everyday people person and put that on paper. So it took me about 2 weeks to put together.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what was one of the things that I loved about it. It was sometimes when you're a professional working in something, right? Like being a mortgage broker, you can easily talk about things and get me lost on the first sentence. But it was something that was very digestible, so which I appreciated it a lot. And it was really good. I highly recommend anybody who is listening and is looking into a reverse mortgage to check out that guide. It's extremely, we're going to go over it later today or on the podcast, but it's extremely easy to read, well written. Like I'm a grammar Nazi, for lack of better words, and I loved it. It was amazing. But back to kind of how I structure my podcast. I want to start right with your experience. You have a rich experience in the mortgage industry. What got you started within mortgages and advising people on products and financial products? What was it, something that you fell into? Was it something that you knew from the beginning you wanted to get into? What was it that got you into the industry?
Wow. I suppose you could say I fell into it in a way. I've always been looking for some way to make a living while helping people, to be a benefit to people while I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried a few different things over the years. This is the one that I just became passionate about and just couldn't never leave this business. Been in it since 2005 now in some way, shape, or form. And just to get out there and help people and solve solutions financially for people, often in conjunction with other professionals in their lives, or financial planners or accountants or tax preparers and all that, and make a difference for people. That's what I enjoy about this business.
Yeah, so it's a pretty rewarding industry. My my biggest thing is real estate is something that really helps people because it shapes lives. It shapes kind of whether you're starting off with your first condo, whether you're moving into a bigger house because you've got a growing family. It's always something that like it affects you at a very existential level, and to be able to help people jump from the first home, second home, third home, and go through that entire process. I feel like it's something that is rewarding for you for good reason, because it's actually affecting people's lives on a day-to-day basis. That mortgage that gets you into your first house, you may forget about it after you filled out the application and everything, but you're experiencing it every single day as you go through living your life, especially with families. So yeah. So, when somebody wants to work with you, walk us through what it's like working. If I wanted to get in touch with Matt, like, am I giving you a call? Are you a digital brokerage? Are you somebody who likes to see people in person? Is it all done through email and I don't hear your voice? What is it like?
It's
What is it
definitely
like
not
working
all done by
with
email.
you in?
It's still a people
So
business. And
yeah, yep.
I'm flexible, where my clients are concerned. I think since even prior to the pandemic, but even now during the pandemic, people are more comfortable working online on a Zoom like this or over the phone, or having the majority of conversation done by email. But people want to meet in person, so I still meet in person. It's a people business, and it comes down to what makes you comfortable as a person. There's some people out there are old school, and they're
Yeah.
like,
So what?
I need to talk to, I need to see face to
Yeah.
face who I'm dealing with. We're talking about money here, and that's perfectly
Yeah.
acceptable. Whatever it goes to. I mean, bottom line is, we start with a conversation. It can be over the phone, it can be by email, it can be preferred. It doesn't really matter how you get in touch with me. You can
Mm-hmm.
text me, for God's sakes. I answer the phone at 3 in the morning sometimes. Don't ask me why. But people call. I figure if you're calling me at 3 in the morning, there's an issue that needs to be dealt with. Let's deal with it. But
Yeah.
then we don't. I don't go with like high pressure tactics here. We just find out what the issue is, craft a solution together, and work it through. And I'm with you from beginning to end and after.
Yeah. No, and that's why I'm a big proponent of mortgage brokers, because like you say, when you're working with, and I love big banks, we work with big banks all the time, but every area has its strengths and weaknesses, and I feel like with a mortgage broker, if somebody comes to me and asks like where they should go, the reason I advise a mortgage broker always is because, like you said, if somebody's calling you 3 in the morning, there has to be some kind of issue. You at least trust the client to know what's going on. What's going to be wrong with their mortgage 3 in the morning, I don't know. But if they're calling you, something is up. But also like the fact that like um, as a mortgage broker, you are able to help people throughout their lives. So whether they get their first house, whether they need to retire, what we're going to talk about in a moment, or whether they're trying to get another credit line because their kid's going to college or whatever it is, you're building a relationship with that person. And if I'm spending the time with you to talk to you about myself and you know me, you can easily advise me on, hey, you know what? And this is the age old question, where what's better, variable or fixed, right? Variable may be doing well. You may know variable is doing well, but I can't sleep at night and I'm going to be calling you
That is
3 a.m.
right.
because I don't, I'm asking you whether I should lock in because rates are going up. You could say, listen, you know what? I recommend variable, but for you,
Right.
I'm saying fixed. Um, those are the bonds that I feel like you build with mortgage brokers, which is why it's so I say advantageous to find somebody, a professional that you kind of connect with and that you can kind of work with
Absolutely.
in the long
It's
run.
it's it's a relationship business. It's not a transactional business. It shouldn't be a transactional business.
Yeah.
Not when real estate really in
Yep.
Canada is a foundation of wealth. period.
Yeah. Yeah. And for most Canadians, it's their largest source of wealth. It really, based on whether you get into a house and how you get into it and whether you can afford it, it opens up so many
As you
other
know,
doors as a
once you've
result of it for
acquired that
you, your
first property,
family.
life changes.
Yeah. 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 So I want to now change gears and kind of talk about what I kind of started off everything about, and that is reverse mortgages. For our listeners who don't really have an understanding of reverse mortgages, can you please break it down in terms of what reverse mortgages are? Yeah, just a simple definition to
Yeah,
start
I
with, and
mean,
then we'll see.
a reverse mortgage, people tend to complicate this concept in their mind. It really isn't that complicated. A reverse mortgage is a mortgage like any
Mm-hmm.
other mortgage. The only difference is you don't make a payment for the life of the mortgage.
Okay.
What happens instead is that the interest is added to the balance owing. And at some point in the future, when you no longer live in the home and the home is sold, or everyone that lives in the house has passed away, then the house is sold and the remaining balance is paid back.
Okay. And then what's the difference between a reverse mortgage? Why can't I just get a really
You can
big
get a
credit
big
line?
credit line, but a reverse mortgage is there for a certain segment of the population who are essentially house rich and cash
Mm-hmm.
poor. Okay, a credit line's
Okay.
great and all, but once you're in retirement, your income level is now lower, right? You're now on fixed income,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so you may qualify for a credit line, or you may not. You may qualify for a credit line. It's not big enough for what needs to happen. Maybe you don't want the carrying those monthly payments on that credit lines is taken away from your standard of living or your ability to put food on the table. And there's a myriad of reasons why it makes sense, but the bottom line is that it's a mortgage like any other mortgage, governed the same, generally the same rules, but don't have to make a payment every
Yeah.
month.
Yeah, no, that's simple enough then. But with a reverse mortgage, this is a qualification question, I guess. Are you qualified based on your income or is it based on your house? How do you kind of go through that
Right. So
process
the
for a
difference
reverse
between
mortgage?
a reverse mortgage and a regular mortgage is that regular mortgage, you have to have good credit, good income to qualify. Okay. As you go into retirement, your income's obviously
Mm-hmm.
less. You may or may not have credit issues. It doesn't matter. But income and credit aren't going to be the deciding factors in qualifying for a reverse mortgage. What is your age, the type of house, the location of the house, and the marketability of the property. And those are going to be the primary factors that determine your qualifications and how much money you can get out of a reverse mortgage. It's actually simple.
Okay. And sorry, I think I cut you off there a
Oh, I
little
just said
bit.
it's
What was
actually
the
quite
last
simple.
sentence you just said? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. No, I mean, it seems like it. But what can you use a reverse mortgage for? Are there limitations on how you can use the funds, or you
There's
could do
one
whatever you want with
limitation
it?
on the funds you receive from a reverse mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
that any current mortgages
Mm-hmm.
on the property be paid first. Reverse mortgage must be in first position. And so if you have, say, your mortgage is paid, but you have a line of credit of 10,000, then the first 10,000 you receive goes to pay off the line of credit, and then the balance of funds you get in your pocket. And you can do with that whatever you wish.
So is it like so when you're saying the balance of funds, does that mean that the funds you're getting all upfront, or is it something that you can draw
Yeah,
down over
it's a
time?
choice.
Um,
So you can take a lump sum, you can take a monthly payment. So, one of the things that I
mm-hmm.
love about this product is that I could qualify someone for, say, a $300,000 reverse mortgage. And I say, Matthew, I don't need $300,000. What I actually need is an extra $1,000 a month in my retirement. Okay, great. We won't
Mm.
give you $300,000 up front. What we'll do is we'll give you $1,000 a month every month paid into your account. And that essentially gives you 300 payments, 300 months of payments into your account. And the best part about that is that you're only paying interest on the amount drawn when drawn, not on
How'd
the
you get the money?
300,000.
Yeah, yeah,
That's one of the main reasons why I
yeah, yeah,
gravitated to this product. Not that people need hundreds of thousands of dollars, but so many seniors, I've seen
Yeah.
it so many times, have these wonderful homes that they've lived in and raised their families in, and they absolutely refuse to leave the home, but they're living below the poverty
Yeah.
line because, between
Yeah.
the retirement income that they're getting from whichever sources that may be, plus the upkeep of the house, plus, just day-to-day living, they're struggling. Where $1,000 a month can make all
Yeah.
the difference in the world to them.
Yeah. No, it can. For most retirees, I know $1,000 can go a long way. $1,000 a month. So what's like the equity guidelines? Like what kind of equity do you need to have? What's the max equity that a reverse mortgage would go to? What's basically what are the factors in the property that need to be considered before you think of being able to qualify for a reverse mortgage?
Okay, so let's discuss qualifying for a reverse mortgage. Qualifying is actually quite simple. First, everyone in the home, sorry, not everyone in the home, but everyone on title of the home must be aged 55 or older. Okay? And then
Mm-hmm.
we're going to look at things like the location of the property, the type of property, and the marketability of the property. And that will determine in a roundabout way the total percentage of the property value that you'll qualify for. Generally, the older you are,
Okay.
the more you'll qualify for. Okay? So,
What are the bounds? So what is it like? What's the minimum you'd qualify for? What's the max?
so the
Like, are there
max
any
you can
bounds for
qualify
that?
for is 55% of the value of the property. Okay? So,
Okay.
and the minimum is about 15% of the value of the property. Okay? But we don't worry about
Mm-hmm.
minimum so much as the maximum. So it is really suited for someone who now has a significant amount of equity in their property. Okay? Which, if you're a retired age at this point, you probably have significant equity in your property, given where home prices have gone over the years, and that you've
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
significant amount of time to pay down your mortgage.
Yeah. No. And then, so here's the other question I have for qualifying everything. I mean, reverse mortgages, personally, I do feel that for the right people, it's a great product. But a lot of people will say that it's a scam. And so what is your response to that? And I'm picking this up straight from your guide again for those who want to listen or read it. I definitely suggest people go out and read that guide. But what is your answer to the people who say that it's a scam?
Absolutely, 100%. Reverse mortgages in Canada is not a scam. It is not designed to
Yeah.
take advantage of the homeowner, period.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of people feel that, you know what? Reverse mortgages are just meant to like get you to out of the house, just take the money as quickly as possible. That's a lot of and I don't know why people. To some extent, I guess you could see why, because you're not really qualifying for the house. Like same benefits that you get in terms of qualifications. You're not qualifying, sorry, from income. You're only qualifying from the house. The same benefits of the reverse mortgages also make people feel like, hey. If they're only caring about the house, they're ready to kick the person out
Yeah,
as soon
valid
as possible.
concerns, obviously.
So
Part of the problem is that if you Google reverse mortgages, I don't care where you are in Canada, Google reverse mortgages.
yeah,
The majority of search
yeah,
results that come up are US based, meaning United States
yeah,
based.
yeah,
Okay. And with that comes a lot of negative publicity in the United States about reverse mortgages. Now, I'm not going to get into what reverse mortgages in the United States, except to say that in Canada, it is not the same. Okay, we've taken lessons
yeah.
from the United States, and the mistakes that they've made with the product there, and fixed it and created the product here. So what we have here is a product that's far superior to that of the United States.
Yeah, and I also would argue that I think there's sometimes a confusion between a reverse mortgage and a private mortgage that's based on the equity. Those are two very different things, because people will look at private mortgages where you are not qualified, your property is qualified, how much equity you have is qualified, and then the private mortgagers don't have, or the lenders don't have a problem giving you 80-90% of the value. And then with all these fees, it's very easy to tip you over the 100% mark, which means that now the house is most likely, I would say, for lack of better words, up for grabs. But you're gonna get evicted and all of that. With 55%, we're working at a very,
Yeah,
very
I mean,
different
it's designed
landscape.
that way for a reason, right? I mean, what's probably the biggest
Yeah.
concern that someone has about a reverse mortgage? And given you say it's a scam, well, they're going to take my home. Well, no, they're not. A
Yeah.
reverse mortgage is a mortgage like any other mortgage. When you go to the bank and get a mortgage, you're not worried that they're going to
Yeah.
take ownership of your home from you. It's the same with a reverse mortgage. You still maintain
Yeah.
ownership of your home. It's your home, and all the responsibilities of home ownership come along
Yeah.
with that. Okay, so it's not there to take advantage of you. Secondly, people say, well, I'm going to lose all the equity in my home. If I'm adding interest to my balance every month, eventually I'm going to have zero balance. What am I going to leave
Mm-hmm.
for my heirs or my family? That's an entirely reasonable concern. Absolutely. No one,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
one in this business is going to tell you that's not a concern. But we have to look at the bigger picture. There's a reason it's capped at 55%. Okay. And to qualify at 55%, you're going to have
Yeah.
to be, older than 55. At age 55, you're not going to qualify for 55% of the value of your home. But the whole point is that the interest accrued doesn't exceed the value of your home. Right? In fact, they want to
Yeah.
make sure that there's
Yeah.
actually equity left in your home when you pass away. Okay. So that's why it's capped at 55%.
Yeah. And the fact that, like, you're not leaving anything behind. Well, the thing is the way reverse mortgages are structured is that in your golden years, you're not dealing with change. You're living in the same home, and I feel like you're around longer for those you love. What do you want to do? You want to leave them some money, or you want to be around longer? I'd always want to be around longer for everyone. And 55%, again, it's the amount of equity that's like you're qualifying for, even at the max, is not as high. Now, my other question then is, there are certain qualifications, for example, in terms of age. What kind of, I guess, attributes do reverse mortgages have? The reason I ask this is because in a regular mortgage, you can have portability, you can have fixed, you can have variable, you can have all these other things. What are attributes in a reverse mortgage, and different types of reverse mortgage? Does that exist, or is a reverse mortgage a reverse mortgage? Like, what's the different, I guess, flavors that the reverse mortgages come in,
Well,
if
they
they do?
do, and it would take a long time to go through all the different flavors. But let's say that like any other mortgage, you have your terms. So you have your 6 months, your 1 year, your 3 year, your 5 year rates. Okay, and like a regular mortgage, it'll reset periodically.
Mm-hmm.
There is no amortization period because this is intended to be a lifetime product. Okay, it has
Okay.
penalties like any other mortgage has penalties if you break. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so really, it's not really any different than any other mortgage.
Okay. So when you say it's a lifetime product, what do you
Okay,
mean
so
by
I
that?
mean that it is there for life. So, in a reverse mortgage, there's 4 obligations one has to meet. Okay, that you pay your
Mm-hmm.
property taxes and, if applicable, your condo fees. Keep those up to date. You haven't
Mm-hmm.
maintained home insurance. You keep the house
Mm-hmm.
in good repair, and you occupy the property at least 5, 6
Mm-hmm.
months of the year. As long as you meet those
Okay.
four, is it 4 or 5, 4 obligations, you can
Yeah.
never, ever be told or asked to leave your home. Now, remember, you're not making any
Yeah.
payments. So if you live to the ripe old age of 105, You stay in your home till 105. No one's going to tell
Yeah.
you to leave.
Yeah. Is there a term to it? So is it like every 4 or 5 years you've got to renew like a
I wouldn't call it
conventional
a
mortgage?
renewal, but a rate reset.
Also, is it a fixed rate and then you
Yeah,
reset it
so you
after
can
every
have a
five
fixed or
years?
variable rate, and there's other
Mm-hmm.
things in there depending on the type of product you're taking. If you're taking a monthly stipend, for instance, then there's a different structure for that. But generally, yeah, you have like any other mortgage, you have your 1 year rates, your 2 year rates, your 3 year rates, your 4 year rates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just like a regular mortgage, you renew your mortgage, at the end of the term to a new rate structure. There's no real renewal here because you're in the house, but your rate will change, will reset.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have the ability to come back and
Yeah.
refinance
But
that mortgage too. So let's just say today you got $100,000, and 10 years from now you come back and say, I need more money. Well, they can relook at your situation at that point in time and say, okay, you qualify for X number of dollars more at this point. How much would you like?
so now, in terms of markets, for example, right now, or let's look at the past 5 years. Market's always going
Market's
up.
not always going
So
up.
after 5 years, would I be able to?
We like to believe that
For the
based on
past 5 years, they
recent
were.
history, but we're wrong.
No, I mean the past 5 months has been going down, and I want to get to that in a second. But before that, let's block out the last 5 months. The Canadian market was going up for like 5, 10 years. Um, After 5 years, if the value of my house has gone up, can I then
Yeah.
qualify for
So if the
more?
value has gone up and you're now also older, because part of how much you can get as a
Yeah,
percentage is based on age, then yes, you can qualify for more.
yeah. And the reason I ask is because as prices are going up, cost of everything is going up too. So maybe, you know what, $1,000 5, 10 years ago is not going as far as $1,000 today when gas prices are twice the price. So would I be able to adjust it and say, okay, I don't want 1,000, I need 1,500 or two
Absolutely.
thousand a month? And what about the other way around? If prices are going down, how does that affect after 5 years? Is it going to be, you know what, we're giving you 1,000 because prices of houses have gone down. We can only give you 500.
Absolutely
Is that a
not. So let me
possibility
just
as well?
explain that for a minute. Okay. So
Okay.
let's just say you've qualified for $300,000. You had $100,000 mortgage on your
Yeah.
property. We paid off the $100,000. With the $300,000, you're now left with $200,000. Okay. I only need $1,000 a month
Mm-hmm.
from here on in to supplement my retirement. Okay. So every month I'm taking
Yeah.
$1,000. My $200,000 limit that I now have doesn't go away ever. So it's almost like a line of credit
Mm-hmm.
at that point.
Okay.
So whether property values go up, property values goes
Yeah.
down, it doesn't matter. That 200 is there for you to use.
And the 200 is only the portion that it can draw out. It does not include, or does it include, the interest accumulated on the draw
No,
out?
it does not include the interest accumulated on the drawdown. So dollar for dollar.
Oh,
So if it's
perfect. Yes.
200,000, 200, it's not going to change.
Okay.
Now the interest that you're being charged now is only charged on the funds that have been drawn. So if you drew, your $100,000 plus $1,000 every month, let's just say you're 6 months in, 106,000. Well, you're only being, interest is only accruing on the 106, not the total 300 that you've been approved for. Right?
Yeah, yeah. So my last question, and this is probably on a lot of people's minds as well. How do taxes play in? Is this reported as income? Is this reported as debt? How do I look at it in terms? How does a CRA look at it? Not how do I look at it? How does a CRA look at it when that money's being dropped into my account? And am I paying any kind of capital gains or whatever other taxes? I know capital gains may not be a part of this, but I'm just what's the tax implications of
So
a
I'll make this
reverse
answer
mortgage?
quite simple for you. There are no tax implications to a reverse mortgage. The bottom line is this is your money in your pocket already. It is not earnings, it's not dividends, it's not interest earned. This is money, right? This is,
Yeah.
well, some of it's interest earned. It's interest earned on the value of your property, but there are no tax consequences
Yeah.
associated with that as your primary residence, right? So
Yeah.
and if you go to
No, and
CRA's
then there's
website, I think if you just Google CRA and reverse mortgages, it will come up, and they have a statement there that quite clearly states that reverse mortgages have no real tax consequences. Now, the other question that someone's going to ask is that going to affect my CPP payments or my OIS payments or anything like that? And again, the answer is no.
oh wow. So
It's not
it's not
income.
declared as
Yeah, it's
income, so I
simply
guess
not
that's
income.
why. Okay.
You're drawing money from your
Yeah,
own
yeah.
pocket. It just happens to
No.
be the money's been tied up in my home. And until now, the only way to
Yeah.
get that money out of my home is to sell it or get a loan on it and make monthly payments every month.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
yes, a reverse mortgage is still a loan on it, but you don't have to make the payments every month. And so if you want to go back to the
Yeah.
whole real estate values conversation a few minutes ago, now think of it this way.
Mm-hmm.
If you borrowed 50% of the value of your home, okay, and let's just say the reverse mortgage interest rate's 5%, then your actual home only has to grow at approximately half the interest rate, right? Because you only borrowed half the value of your home. All right. So, if you're at
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
500,000, your
yeah.
home's $1 million. Well, the $1 million home is accruing annually on top of $1 million, whereas you're accumulating interest on 500,000. All right. So, in a sense,
Yeah.
if you're taking draws every month, you're almost drawing from future increases in equity anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and I think the tax and the CPP, all those questions come because psychologically, you're looking at $1,000 coming into your account every month. In reality, you're taking out a loan of $1,000 every month is essentially what it is, and so there's no tax implications. And in terms of if you're in an appreciating environment, like you said, the value is maintained. So it's a perfect solution for the right people. It's not something for everybody, but for the right people, it is a great product, and it's something that definitely needs to be understood better because I don't think Canadians have enough information on this. And being frank, I've been doing this podcast for quite some time. I've had a lot of guests on. We have a lot of questions on fixed and variable, and I've never had anybody who's kind of specializing in reverse mortgages, which is why I loved having you on the podcast, because it's something that Canadians need to be introduced to so that they can learn about and then start their education process, because it's not something there's a lot of misconceptions around it. And it is a simple product, but at the same time, it requires people's time to understand it and figure it out for what it is and understand what
Yeah,
it can do and
absolutely.
what it can't do.
I can't. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you that it's good for you or tell you that it's not good for you. That's something you have to decide for
Yeah,
yourself. All I'm doing is providing the information with which you can make an educated and empowered decision on whether or not it works for you or it doesn't work for you. And if you think it works for you, give me a call. I'll run you through the process.
yeah, no. Thank you for coming on the podcast. You know what? Again, I'm gonna tell all of my listeners, even if you're not like ready for a reverse mortgage right now, it's something that you definitely should be looking into. I'm going to be leaving a link for the for Matthew's guide, for reverse mortgage guide. Check it out, understand what it is, whether you need one now or it's something that in the future you definitely feel like is a possibility. Look at that guide. It really goes through everything goes over all of the issues that people have, the questions, and it explains it in a way where you're like, whoa, this is like, it really, I can understand it. So it's something that, like, it's not intimidating. It's not something that's like corporate talk where you're looking at numbers and all this other stuff. It's not like you're looking at your mortgage terms. It really goes through every single thing and explains it in a way where people can understand it and see whether it's good for them or not. Thank you again. I know that was a long speech, but thank you for coming on the
Yeah, no,
podcast. Any
thank you for
last words,
having
Matthew?
me. I just want to get the word out there that that the guide is out there for once. People can educate themselves and not dismiss a reverse mortgage outright or be misled by, incorrect information or misrepresented information on reverse mortgages.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.